Well, good afternoon, everybody, and
Package.
thank you for joining us right now for WFIN News 2 at 5. We begin with some slow traffic across our sky cams. Of course, we'll have the latest as we continue on. Of course, we're going to leave the traffic up on your screen, plus breaking news and more coming up. going to turn right now to break. Oh, sorry, guys. Okay, we're looking at a live look from I-85 southbound, where a major wreck is happening across I-85 southbound at mile marker 52.7. Of course, that is breaking news at the top of the hour here on WFIN News 2. We want to bring you this ahead of course, of our breaking news division here as we're watching this major wreck. Of course, if you are in either side of the highway, please be sure that you are staying out of the way of all officials trying to get to the scene. Of course, we do urge you to stay out of the way. Of course, we are bringing this to you right now as breaking news here into the WFIN News 2 newsroom, as we're taking a live look again from I-85 southbound at mile marker 52.7. Of course, they have all kinds of crews making sure that that you get out of the way just so they can get in there and work. Okay, of course, we saw an ambulance not too long ago, fire crews. We've been watching it all, police officers, and from a distance, it looks like it may appear like it's getting better, but let me just tell you, it is not. Okay, um, I mean, if you look for some of our further cameras away, you can see it looks like it may be getting better, but it's not. So if you are on I-85 southbound, make sure you are. Oh well, that does. Okay, we're actually gonna send it over to this look from our breaking news division. Of course, like we said, this look on your left hand side of the screen looks like the wreck is now cleared. Again, the wreck appears to be now cleared, and of course that camera was not actually wanting to work perfectly. It looks like the ambulance is still on scene. Of course, we'll giving you a look at what we're looking at. Of course, a major wreck now cleared, thankfully. That is great to know. Of course, the people, hopefully the people are okay involved in the accident. Of course, we don't really know, but we do know that we are continuing to watch this wreck, as watching both sides. Of course, our sky cams. Everybody is trying to get home. Let's just say that if you are on the highway, I don't blame you. Let's get you home on our Skycam network. And so, yeah, that is definitely nice to have that feature here on WFIN News 2, that Skycams, and we're able to show you, give you a nicer look at the upstate, what we're looking at. We're actually going to take you to, this is something we do a lot on WFIN News 2, because, we have wrecks across the upstate all the time, especially in that rush hour. Of course, we will take you to everyone out by the minute. Of course, traffic is moving along slowly, but of course, we want to urge you to make sure you're kind of out of the way. Of course, and now we're looking at East Stone Avenue, about to pull up on your screen. In just a moment. We're about to have our afternoon travel that we're going to have up on your screen. Let's look right now at our afternoon travel at I-385 northbound. That's at mile marker 42. And of course, we're going to continue to give you the upstate's most accurate traffic. Of course, we're continuing to watch. You can see that camera just shifted there. I don't know why it still says East Stone Avenue. It's not East Stone Avenue, but I hope you're having a good afternoon, though, for sure. It is. It has been a wild afternoon, I will say, from traffic that we've been watching here at the WFIN News 2 Traffic Center. But I'm hoping that you can get home safely, and if not, of course, we're gonna keep you up to date with our area's most accurate travel network. Well, not really travel network, but traffic, right here on WFIN2. We are the end of area's independent traffic network that you can count on. And of course, that East Stone Avenue, you know that ramp getting into downtown Greenville is always slow, but of course, that is, of course, out of our way now, which is incredibly nice. But of course, we're still watching all over the upstate. Getting into Spartanburg County at that GSP exit, of course, we'll watch all of that. You know, that can get congested also. So if you're watching our WFIN News 2 traffic travel across the upstate, make sure you tune in there. Of course, you're about to be looking. Sorry there. Of course, this right now on your screen is a look at I-85 southbound. That is at mile marker 57 at Spartanburg County. Of course, that traffic is moving into the area, or going home. I hope that if you're in that mess, hopefully it won't take you long, because it is a pain, trust me, trying to get it on rush hour. So, now it's looking like it may be backed up again. Of course, we're going to get you the latest on why it is backed up, but of course, that is a look at appears to be I-85 southbound at mile marker. Oh, whoops. At mile marker 57, of course. Oh, now it looks like it's kind of stop and go traffic. Of course, we'll keep you up to date here on the area's independent traffic right here on WFIN News 2. This is a look right now at our afternoon traffic travel cameras right here from the Skycam network on I-385 southbound in Fountain Inn. People trying to get off work, and let me tell you, that traffic, you need to be careful today, because it will cause some issues. So make sure that you are staying safe out there on our area's traffic travel network. We turn now to breaking news right here on WFIN News 2 after a suspect was arrested in Simpsonville after a shooting leaves 2 injured. The Greenville County Sheriff's Office said that 2 people were injured in a shooting on Friday, at a Friday afternoon shooting. Deputies say it happened just before 3 p.m. along Grove Drive in Simpsonville. Deputies said one person is in custody, and the two victims were taken to an area-wide hospital with serious injuries. According to deputies, an argument between the victim suspect led to a shooting. Of course, that is all the information that we know right now, but Garrison Grove Drive, just for perspective, is not far from an area-wide high school. That's Woodmont High School. According to some students, the school was not on lockdown today, but we are continuing to follow that breaking news. It will continue to bring you that as we continue to learn more about that system. And make sure you stay with us all the time for any kind of breaking news, because we have the independent news and weather for our upstate you can find right here on 2. We also want to remember right now, after former Democratic presidents remember the late Reverend Jesse Jackson during the final public tribute in Chicago. The former presidents to NBA Hall of Famer, to church pastors, and stories of the Reverend Jackson's influence on politics, corporate boardrooms, and picket lines loomed large Friday at a celebration honoring the late civil rights leader Jesse Jackson. Thousands of people gathered at a church on Chicago's South Side to pay final public tribute. The celebration with appearances by Grammy-winning gospel singers with Jennifer Hudson, which, if you know from NBC stations, of course, that's Jennifer Hudson Show on NBC. You can watch that on WFIN. But of course, felt like at times like a church service, and others like a political rally. Many, from the former President Bill Clinton to Reverend Al Sharpton, a civil rights leader and the founder of National Action Network, linked Jackson's death to call to action, from speaking out against justice to voting to the midterms. Former President Barack Obama said that Jackson's presidential runs in the 1980s sets the range for other black leaders, including his own successful 2009 presidency and re-election. The message he sent to 22-year-old child of single mother with a funny name, an outsider, was that maybe there wasn't any place or any room where he didn't belong. Of course, that was according to former President Barack Obama. But of course, all of this month we're remembering Greenville's Jesse Jackson right here on 2 News. Return out of breaking news just into our WFIN News 2 newsroom after SLED seeks info as investigation continues into shots fired at a SCDNR officer. The South Carolina Law Enforcement Division continues to investigate after an individual shot at a Department of Natural Resources officer in Edgefield County. During the early morning hours of December 28th of 2025, shots were fired at a DNR officer after he attempted a traffic stop involving a suspicious vehicle. The DNR officer was not injured, but his truck was struck multiple times. The suspect drove off after shooting it. Of course, we will have those images and more coming up after the break.